Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche. Voilà le portrait sans retour.
Symbolisium.
De l'homme
Symbolisium.
auquel j'appartiens.
Symbolisium.
Quand
Truly.
il me prend
Truly.
dans ses bras,
Every grand piece of art, whether it was cinematic, musical, or just sticky smear on the wall of a courthouse, holds a symbolic meaning. And oftentimes with art, the French take it too far. I'm talking child kidnapping, steampunk cyborg cyclops, conjoined twin kingpins running a thief orphanage, a laboratory used to steal dreams of an aging scientist, and Ron Perlman speaking French. Yes, people, today we are... Sacre bleu! We are butchering a classic French film. We are discussing, dissecting, twisting, rewriting, grinding, and making sauces at Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro's The City of Lost Children. I have kidnapped my two usual co-hosts today, Dwayne Selleck.
That's me.
Bonjour. And Katz Lauda. Bonjour.
Oui, oui, bonjour.
And I have brought them to my magnificent oil rig laboratory to say...
Oh, this is one of the most exquisite sex dungeons I've ever been to.
It is not a sex dungeon, it is a laboratory for stealing dreams of small children. In my
That's what they call all the sex dungeons I go to.
Well, my sweet little children, my Bolly-boo baby-faced boys, my... I don't know any other French ways to say this, but my friends. Today, I would like to talk to
If
you.
only you knew the French word for friends.
What is is it amigos?
Mon chéri.
I thought that was my love.
Omelette du fromage.
Ah, yes, cheese.
There you go.
We're doing it.
So here's the thing that right off the bat. So the reason that you did your whole Frenchy Frou thing for the intro was because you think that this was a particularly French kick in the face of a movie, correct?
Oh yeah, dude, this was so French.
Just for the sake of mentioning it, while I was watching this movie, I was wondering, like, do people watch Quentin Tarantino movies and be like, oh, this is just so fucking American? Oh my God. Oh, the Americanness.
Oh, did you go into like some forums or something? Did you ask people about this?
No, I was just curious because so when you say this was a French movie made by an auteur filmmaker, and a lot of it feels French as fuck to us Americans watching it. And my question is just, I wonder if this is French as fuck, or if the French would be like, no, this was just a weirdo. Like the way that we would be to a Quentin Tarantino movie, where it's not that he's so American, it's that he just happens to be from America and he's a fucking weirdo.
I think this was definitely a weirdo. Like this was a weird Frenchman, but the French probably don't see this movie as quite as weird as an American might, because you can watch the most run-of-the-mill like film that's French or European in general as like some unwashed American, and they all seem weird. You know, like I remember trying to show like some French comedies to like my family, and we had to turn it off in the first 15 minutes because they just could, like, I don't know, they could not get into it. It was
now
like not
funny.
working.
What French comedies were you trying to show?
It was Jacques Tati. It was Traffic.
Oh, Tati is the shit. He's the dude who did what's it called? The thing with all the buildings and the one guy who's
Playhouse.
yeah. Playhouse, yeah.
Something like that.
Playhouse?
Yeah. No, it's called Playhouse or Playground.
Playtime. I think it's called Playtime.
Yeah, that movie is fucking amazing. But you know, like, as in general, European films hit a lot differently than American films do. So you got to kind of factor in that. But I would imagine, like, whatever the director's name of, you know, like, whatever his name that directed this film, guy's probably kind of a fucking weirdo too. So
Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet are the two directors for this. They also did.
Have you guys seen? Sorry, Bray. You go ahead.
It was they also I think Marc Caro did Emile and Jean-Pierre Jeunet did Delication. So
yeah,
they got a couple.
Delicatessen. Have you guys seen Delicatessen?
yeah, at a very young age.
Man, I feel bad for your nightmares.
Ooh, is it spooky?
Actually, I dug it. I loved that as a kid. It freaked me out, but I loved it. So, and then I haven't seen Amelie, but I think I read in the Wikipedia that this is like a stylistic sequel, basically, to those films or something like that.
Apparently, I believe it said that Delicatessen came out first, and there was some other film that was more or less a sequel. But if it was a trilogy, The City of Lost Children would be in the middle of that.
Yeah, wait.
No, this film came after Delicatessen and Amelie, for sure.
Well, all I know is when I googled it, it said it was the sequel to one weird French film, and it was the predecessor to another weird French film by the same guy. And one of them was Delicatessen. So
yeah, I don't think
it would make sense that Delicatessen was the sequel, because that one seemed. No, actually, Delicatessen seemed lower budget, but it seemed a little bit more higher. Like the artistic voice was a little bit more refined, if that makes sense. Like Reservoir Dogs to Pulp Fiction.
Yes, your needless violence versus your. Speaking of needless violence, first of all, what's everyone sipping on? I got myself a classic French beer, Modelo. I'm going to be cracking one every couple minutes, I'm thinking.
Isn't that? It's French.
I'm a little bit off, but I'm drinking Italian sparkling mineral water. So
I'm drinking Spanish beer from the Spanish state of Montaña, called Hand Rolled, which is a hazy IPA from the Draftworks in Missoula, Montaña.
Well, let's, as we take our sips, let's kind of get ready to delve into whatever the fuck this movie was. Starting out, this movie is a lot of child abuse, and not in a sexual way. I want to make that very clear. There's no sexual child abuse. It's all psychological.
Just pure hatred. Just pure hatred of children.
Yeah, no, it is John Podesta level baby drinking.
Non-stop, just constant torment of children. We open up with a fun dream sequence of this child, and Santa comes down the chimney, and he's like, "Whoa, Santa, that's so cool!" And then a second Santa, and then a third Santa, and then there's 8 Santas suddenly.
It reminded me a lot of that scene in It's Always Sunny where all the Santas come and fuck Charlie's mom.
I was thinking that exact same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Like they're all just going to start railing this kid's mom. But then they never got to that. They never got to that in the movie.
And somehow it was more traumatizing.
Yeah, somehow.
Like how later scenes may have inspired BioShock Infinite. I wouldn't be surprised if that beginning inspired the Always Sunny Christmas episode. Yeah, and then it's like
right, but it shows that Christmas thing that was happening with the Santas was all the attempts of a mad scientist to infiltrate the dreams of a young boy and make sure they're happy dreams.
Stealing the dreams, because he himself cannot dream, and that's the whole thing. Is he is aging incredibly fast, and he is in horrible pain, and he's going crazy because he cannot dream. When he sleeps, he just falls asleep. Which I don't know about you, but if you smoke a lot of weed, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And on that subject, can I just say that this movie, on an overall level, I don't think I've had such a strong feeling of praise for a film that I'm pretty sure I didn't understand quite like this movie.
You and Ron Perlman are in the same boat, baby. Because he didn't understand a word.
Ron Perlman didn't get it.
Ron Perlman didn't know what anyone was saying, most likely.
He doesn't speak French.
Yeah.
Really? I assumed that he must have grown up in France or something.
No, he admitted to it.
Ron Perlman was born and raised in New York. That was the best realization, was that Ron Perlman was probably just miming words this entire film.
So before we delve into Ron Perlman, Brant, go through a little bit more of the plot and connect us to where Ron Perlman comes in.
So what happens is, we see this whole thing, and the last Santa that shows up is this incredibly sweaty, bald man who is the evil scientist, and he wakes up screaming, and we're introduced to the fucking cackle and crew of this entire oil rig laboratory, which is 8 clones, a dwarf, a brain in a jar, who just constantly mocks him, and the mad scientist himself. And then, a plethora of children that they just kidnapped. And from there, You're like, oh, where could we be going? Of course, we go to the fair. We go to the French fair, where Ron Perlman is a strong man who is attempting to bust some fucking chains off his chiseled physique.
Which he clearly does all the time because he fucking busts them like butter.
Yeah, Ron Perlman, his character name, One, that's it, because they're probably like, shit, we can't fucking give him anything more than a syllable at this point, fuck.
Because he's retarded, right? Like he's supposed to be a man with the mind of a child, right?
I think he's kind of a Lenny. He's a little bit of a Lenny, because the way he talks, and that's where I first was like, does Ron Perlman know French? Or is he just playing someone who's retarded? Turns out it's
either
both.
way, goddamn, like, I'm not a French speaker, but every line that motherfucker delivered, this was one of the best Ron Perlman performances I've ever seen.
It's because he didn't know what was happening. He couldn't act.
Dude, it was because of his eyes, man. Fuck the language he was speaking. When you look in his eyes and look at him look at the little girl that he's, like, guiding, man, that is some of the most beautiful shit.
So, we see a little bit of the town around us. There's a cult who's telling people to pluck their eyes out. I'm a big fan of that. That was a cool opening. We see some pickpockets. We see Ron Perlman's little brother, doing the jingle jangle, the cups and the keys. He's like, hey, give me money. Some kid steals the money of the thing. The ringleader is like, oh, you're a little thief. Fuck you, stealing from orphans. Gets stabbed for his troubles. And then we're immediately in this fucking caravan where Ron Perlman has lovingly, gingerly laid his ringleader friend, master and boss, on his bed directly under the dripping roof so that he can't get a wink of sleep while he tries to recover from his stab wound.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem to care. Yeah, he doesn't care that like the water's dripping right on this guy's forehead. He could move it like an inch. He could move his forehead an inch.
Oh, look at that. The water's dripping, wipes it off, and he just goes over to his little brother who just... The whole thing about his little brother, because every character in this is pretty one-dimensional, except for, like, Miette, who we'll get to is in a minute. All his fucking little brother does is eat. And that's it. He's just only concerned with eating. What a
right, which becomes kind of an important plot point later. But man, like I actually really liked that about this movie. This movie is one of the purest original fairy tales I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It
feels like a Brothers Grimm, or like I don't know. Yeah,
straight up, dude. Like it talks about how the Cyclops are the bad guys. They're the cult that's hunting down people's eyes. The wolf is the name of the person who's stealing the children, and it's all a story about like lost innocence. Man, like this is a straight up fairy tale, and that's why I'm super fine with the Frenchness of it, because I am so willing to suspend disbelief because of the sheer amount of fairy taleness that's going on.
You better suspend disbelief, because there's a lot of shit that just kind of happens for no reason or has a
soon as the mosquitoes and shit get involved, it gets really like you better be fucking.
A lot of Rube Goldberg shit starts to happen. You're like, okay, sure.
Dude, I wrote down step by steps. When we get to the Rube Goldberg shit, I'll explain it so everyone knows.
The first coincidence, I guess this is happening is the cyborg steampunk Cyclops dudes show up to Ron Perlman's little caravan to steal his kid. And it's not really explained why. It's just that they steal young children. They're being conscripted to do it.
They could tell he was a fresh one.
Yep, they do.
And also, that said, like, that kid was one of the cutest kid actors I've seen in a while.
Yeah, that's not a good thing for most kid actors.
Well, if they want to be adult actors, too, yeah, it's not a good... Well, and also for other reasons involving certain people with certain last names. And I'm just not even going to go further there, because you can fill in your own minors there.
Fuck them.
You know.
So the whole thing.
And if you don't know, now you know. N-word. That's a Biggie Smalls lyric.
This, by the way, is like a 2-hour-long movie, and a lot happens in the first hour and 15 minutes. Like a lot happens. So from the fair, the caravan, we are introduced to Ron Perlman is trying to save his little brother. He gets stolen away. He's just running through the streets of this fucking weird Paris type shit, this weird French ass village. And he meets while he's being chased by the Cyclops, he meets a little band of vagabonds. He meets what are their names? There's Alfalfa. They got
the little rascals.
Little rascals.
Yeah.
He meets the French little rascals, who in the most French fashion,
Little rascal.
incredibly moody.
Un rascal de little.
And he walks in.
Eventually, this becomes racist, I think, but I'm not sure. The dirty French will let us know.
We already discussed this in the last episode, didn't we? You can't be racist towards the French.
Not the French. Fuck everyone. Hates
Oh
the
yeah,
French.
no, that's a good point. I believe we laid the groundwork. Our audience is 100% ready for a final solution against the French.
So he comes in. These kids, their entire thing is they steal money. They're conscripted to go steal money, crack safes, do all this crazy shit because they're orphans and no one gives a shit. And he's like, "Oh, whoa! I'm in the middle of a robbery. But hey, guys, I need." Well, he says it in Ron Perlman shitty French, which is he doesn't say anything. He just kind of looks at them sadly. So they tie him up. They hide a bunch of money in his butt. The cyborgs kick the door in. They're like, "Hey, thanks for breaking the door."
Speaking French with his eyes.
He was speaking French with his eyes. Exactly. They're like, "Oh, look at this!
That's
you
what
opened the
crying
safe
is.
for us. You opened the safe for us. Thank you so much. Here, buy yourself some sweets. Here's a couple bucks. Oh, goodbye, children. Goodbye." And then he just kind of makes it out after that. The kids are like, "Hey, Ron Perlman, thanks for like saving this little bit of money, but fuck you because we had a lot more before you showed up." And they go back to their orphanage, where an octopus. That's right. It's the conjoined twin kingpin sisters who run the orphanage. The octopus are just like teaching kids how to crack safes and steal money. And it goes over how they're
fucking awesome.
It was pretty tight. It was pretty tight.
They had it down to a science.
These two ladies who they're probably twins or something, or maybe it was the same actress twice, but I think it was probably twins.
It was twins, yeah.
Yeah, but no, they were so in the same zone. They would say the same lines at the same time. Like, this is one of those examples of a time where I'm like, God damn, I really wish I spoke French just to truly feel how well choreographed this is. Because that's the thing, is like, with all the weird shit in this movie, and there's like some choices in this movie that are just like, holy shit, what the like, that is a little over the top. That's a little artsy, whatever. But when this movie works, this movie fucking works overtime.
It's wild. Yeah, I kind of wish I knew some French too, because I feel like a lot of the background exposition that you don't get in subtitles is probably very interesting and like tells a story on its own.
Or even just line delivery and just like the way they say a word or something.
Yeah, no, of course.
You're always operating at like at least, like 90% of the experience when you're watching subtitles. So.
At the most.
Yeah.
That's
fine.
At
most. But
so we're coming out to the octopus, and they're kind of like the classic. I thought they were just like shitty teachers, but yeah, they just kind of run this orphanage of vagabonds, and they're like, where's the rest of the money, kids? They're fucking like mean dogging these fucking kids to like not skimp them out on their cut and all this shit. Wild stuff the whole way through. A lot of character development happens, and then Ron Perlman shows back up just in the nick of time. Another coincidence happens at this moment, where the octopus are saying, "You know what? You can crack this safe, but it'll take too long. The only way we're going to be able to get this next sting, this next big one, guys, is if we find someone that could pick this safe up." And just on cue, Ron Perlman bursts from the fucking floor being chased by a dog and picks up the safe and puts it down. And honestly, I don't think that was his cue. I think he just kind of got scared of the dog down there and did it himself.
Definitely.
Because he looked very confused.
yeah, but that was... Okay, so how much of this film was just based around Ron Perlman missing his cues then? Because that was,
probably
a
a lot, man. If you're an editor, a filmmaker, and you're working around a guy who doesn't know what the fuck you're screaming half the time, then you're probably going to have to figure out a way to make it work with a little bit of confusion. Which shows that, like, honestly, like, this movie, like, this is one of those movies where, like, if you're watching a Tarantino movie or a fucking Aronofsky movie or something, like, that's a weird second to that. But either way, if you're watching a really, really, really good filmmaker working, like, you can tell that they've thought all this shit through. So I guarantee they fucking cast Ron Perlman because they're like, we could either teach someone who speaks our native language to sound like they're learning disabled, or we could just get someone who will sound learning disabled because they don't know the language. Like, that is some fucking top tier galaxy brain shit.
And it was probably just at that moment, they're like, which one should we do? Ron Perlman probably walked in that little bistro and he was like, parlez-vous français, ham sandwich? I'm like, got him! That one! Give me him! He's the guy.
And still, without knowing the language, the man gave his face, man, the man gave an amazing performance.
So coincidence leads to coincidence. Ron Perlman, we don't even like see the whole operation. We just kind of like see the end result of Ron picking up this big fucking safe and just kind of walking. He just waddles out of the wherever it was kept, the bank or whatever, and then they just kind of trip up the one guard they have. And the next scene we see, they're like counting all the money off the thing, and he just fucking chucks this goddamn safe into the river. I love that. I watched this with cats, and I remember saying, I was like, I hope he just fucking lets it just drop into the river.
Yep. And he did.
Oh, it was so good. I was so happy.
So, while this whole Ron Perlman thing's going on, so, like, this is around the time, because this movie pops back and forth between the realm of the scientist who's experimenting on these children and the city where Ron Perlman is trying to rescue his little brother. And so the whole Ron Perlman thing is him trying to get to the place where the wolf, as they call him, is taking the kids. But if we go back to the lair of the wolf, this movie does this really interesting thing where the brain is kind of like the narrator sometimes, and he tells it as the story that it actually is. And this is where he explains that the wolf is actually a failed experiment that cannot feel any joy or anything. His wife, which is the little dwarf, is a failed experiment as well. Yeah, all of his children. There's one original child and then a bunch of clones off of that child.
Where are you getting wolf, by the way? I don't remember that at all.
There was one scene where people say, "Oh, well, it's the wolf that steals the kids."
His name's Kronk, and I think we just
Kronk or whatever. It's probably less often for someone to call him Wolf, but either way, in the metaphor or whatever, like a character called him Wolf, so that's why I'm going off of that.
So while the octopus scene is happening, while we're getting like all this Ron Perlman shit, you're right. There's a birthday party for the brain in the jar uncle. And they're all singing to him, and they made him this beautiful cake of sweets and stuff. And then we do learn a little bit in that time. It's mostly that the fucking brain just hates him. The brain hates Kronk with such passion. And, like, he is very aware that, like, we are all failed experiments without our creator here, and we are just whiling away our days. But you're a fucking bastard of a man. You should just die, kind of thing.
The thing the brain says that I think is really important is, like, and I thought it was an interesting, in the very beginning, like, first act of the movie, the brain says something to him like, hey, doctor, you need to seek out the torment that's within you, because all the kids that you test have nightmares, but that's probably because the nightmares are coming from the fact that you are evil. So it's an interesting thing because the brain tells him you should just find the evil within you, but Kronk ignores that or whatever his fucking name is.
No, he doesn't ignore it. He does it in a really fucked up way where he's like, who has stolen the dream of the child? Perhaps it is the evil Kronk? Look upon yourself and see the torment that is bringing these nightmares. Perhaps you should look into the anatomy of a single tear. Oh, but you cannot cry. What sorrow? What sorrow that you cannot even study your own tears? And he tells him this really fucked up, sad story, which is just literally his beginnings and like taking place, and it makes him cry. And just as they finally get like a teardropper, they suck this tear out of Kronk, the wolf's eye. He just fucking laughs. He was like, "You stupid fucking idiot. That's not going to do anything. It's just a tear, you dumb shit."
But also, it was very interesting, and I thought it was like just an interesting artsy thing, that the only thing that could make this man cry was hearing his own story, which I guarantee was something Mr. Frenchy McFrench directing this wanted you to notice.
There's some psychology there, probably.
The birthday happens.
What I don't get is why he didn't... Oh, sorry, Brad. I was just going to say, I don't... Like, he got fucking pissed at Irvin, the brain, and he runs, like, he's like, you know, he's kind of like threatening him or like saying some harsh words to him or something. Never thinks to smash that brain. You know, that brain's just sitting there being a total dick. And like, I was really expecting Kronk to like have some kind of like twisted revenge on this thing, but that never actually happens.
He needs the brain as a thing, because the brain sings him a lullaby and he gets the kid and himself to fall asleep into the machine, and then he kind of like controls, I guess, the happening. And we learned about this because the birthday happens. Not a whole lot. It's just fucking Kronk despises everything because here are these other failed experiments, but at least they could sleep, at least they could dream, at least they feel something, at least they could laugh. And then we're back over to one, our Ron Perlman big guy, one Perlman, as I think we'll call him from here, and he is trying to conscript Miette, who is the little rascals. She's kind of the ringleader. She's the cool one, and it gets this is where a lot more child exploitation, child abuse happens.
He put. I mean, not. Well, okay, I don't want to jump ahead.
Not yet. They don't do that part yet, but it's
yeah.
So they find where all these cyborg dudes that stole his brother away. It's just on this boat, and it's just a big sermon of dudes who have plucked their eyes out, and a couple of them get like new fancy cyborg eyes, and while they're doing this whole thing, we have one of the clones and the dwarf princess show up, and they're kind of like, what the fuck is this? I thought we were said a dozen kids. He's like, yeah, but at least they're all not even 4 years old, so we'll call it even. Yada yada. One in Miette fucking bust through. He's like, oh, that's my kid brother. I'm gonna go save him. Fucks everything.
And then they immediately get captured. Yeah,
immediately. And from there, it's it's from there.
Okay,
it's
so
just
that's where
kill the kids, kill this guy and kill the kid. Just put them on the docks and just what is it? A snack for the fishes? Is that what they say?
The fishes, the fishholes.
Les fichules. Yeah, they say something like that.
Right. So they got the two of them. They got Miette and one on a little boat, and they're just like, oh, we'll see who fucking falls into the fishes first or whatever. And so while they're sitting there, the Cyclops unleashes a mind control mosquito.
Nope,
and the mind control.
Wait. We have something that happens before this. We have the second Santa scene that happens before the dockside wager. This whole time where all this tension is happening, we go back to the oil rig where fucking Kronk the Wolf has decided, you know what kids like? I always see it in their dreams. They love Santa. Even though every time I do the Santa thing, they end up fucking losing their shit. I'm going to dress up like Santa and entertain these children and give them toys. And then from there, it's fucking, I kid you not, 9 whole minutes of children just crying as this fucking bizarre scene.
It's really, honestly, that was one of the points where, I didn't even notice what was happening in front of my brain. My brain just turned off, and I just, came conscious a few minutes later, and I was like, man, that's French.
It was very French. It's just them singing a fucking Christmas carol, and he's dressed up, and he's all fucking sweating in this shitty Santa outfit, and all these kids, it is genuine fear in all these children's eyes. They're all like toddlers, and they're all scared. I don't know what they did to get such a visceral
reaction. They probably just filmed the scene.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't think they had to do much.
Yeah, I was wondering. I remember when we were watching, I was wondering, I wonder what they did. Did they have to do some kind of movie magic trick where they get kids to cry? No, they just put this freaky looking I think he's French. I think I actually looked up and he was Chilean, the guy who plays Kronk. But whatever, he's a weird looking guy, and put that guy in the Santa suit.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Weird.
They just have all this noise happening and all this it'd probably freak me the fuck out too if I was a kid. So him trying to make the kids happy, huge failure. Now we're over to the dock side.
Before we go back to Ron Perlman,
damn it.
One other thing I want to. So there's this thing going on where the children of Kronk are all about figuring out who is the original of the clones of the children. And there were two really good lines in this movie that I just wrote down. And one of them that I wrote down was there's this one of the clones that's going around and he's like, oh, I'm definitely the original clone because the brain told him for whatever reason. But they're all stupid. But one of them smacks him and he's like, how dare you smack the original? And the other says, you're the original? Have you looked in a mirror lately? And I just thought he got super owned there. So I thought that one was worth it.
It was pretty good. Yeah, the Santa scene happens. All right, now we're at the dock side. where we learn that the octopus, the twin sisters, the conjoined sisters, used to be in a sideshow where their ringleader was this fucking hurdy-gurdy dude who had little fleas that would inject people with mind-controlling poison that he could then make them just kind of go berserk and kill everyone around them. Because I guess that's a French fare for you.
It was some MK Ultra fleas, basically.
Yeah, they just dose your shit up with a bunch of fucking LSD, and it's like, just kill whoever's near you, man. They just play fucking Raining Blood full blast in the dark room with strobe lights until you break.
Which it's funny that they had, the extra French layer on that is that it had to be fleas. You can't use poison darts. You can't use, a drug in like some water, a beverage or something like that. No, it's got to be on fleas.
No gas, no dust, nothing. It's actually fleas that he could talk to and control. It's so fucking French.
Yeah, well, I guess he's a circus. Is he? I can't remember exactly, but he was a circus performer originally, right? Is that what his bit was?
He was the twins' ringleader, and his whole thing was I guess that he had the flea circus, the French flea circus, that he played as hurdy-gurdy. But
there you go. I mean, I guess it adds a little bit, but
this is my favorite scene personally because we're introduced. Okay, we have Miette, the kid, the little girl, and we have Ron Perlman, and they're both on planks, and on the end of each plank is a bucket of fish, and these Cyclops dudes are just betting who's gonna fucking go in the water first. And all these seagulls start showing up. They start eating the fish. You're like, oh, okay, it's to weigh them down. And the first one to fall dies. While they're betting, that fucking dude with the flea shows up. He starts playing his hurdy-gurdy. A flea bites the big dude. And it's the most fucked up kill scene I've ever seen.
He plugs the guy's killing's eye into his eye.
Yeah.
So that he can slowly choke him to death as he's watching his own face screaming, "I don't want to die."
It's insane. I did not expect that at all. It was so cool.
No, that was one of the best, fucked up murder scenes I've ever seen. And if you weren't staring at the screen and internalizing all the information, then then that scene kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, he just kills one dude kind of willy-nilly. He's cuts his eye, and they just kind of he just I think he just stabs him and throws him in the water. And then the other one, he's like, "Where are you, friends? Come on, we have work to do." Yeah, unplugs his eye, plugs it into his own eye because he used weird, like I said, steampunk cyborg shit so they can see. And then just fucking makes him watch him choke him. Oh, it's wild.
Which means, I guess, the flea that bit that guy must have been a really asshole flea or something.
Must have been
the rest of the murders that those fleas
do anything close to that after that.
Yeah. No, I know. It was usually it's just it was blind fury for before and after, but that one flea was just a fucking savage, I guess.
You know, it'd be really funny.
No, if the major issue with this movie was just little things like that of the rules only doing what they have to do in order to make this scene look awesome, which I cannot fault if you're a visual filmmaker. But I'm saying those are the only issues I had with this movie were just little weird logic jumps.
Yeah, it was a big jump of logic that the fleas that were trained to jump on people and inject MK Ultra poison. The poison's not very consistent.
That gets activated by a hurdy-gurdy.
Falls into the drink.
And Ron Perlman gets saved because the twins only wanted one, Ron Perlman, because he knew where the safe is.
And Ron Perlman somehow weighs less than a bucket of fish.
Yeah.
Just want to put that
out there.
When
Miette falls into the drink, she's tied up. Imagine this audience, cartoon level, tied to the railroad tracks, no arms, no legs, 100% rope from 6 inches out to your body. She sinks to the bottom of this fucking little river here.
You can see her hit the bottom. She hits the bottom of the canal. You just see her
she hits
the way down. Boom.
Yeah, she goes all the way down, and while she's down there, well, that's when she gets rescued by our boy
SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants, it turns out, was the bad guy the whole time.
Not shitty. He also carries her very slowly because he's in the big SpongeBob diving suit. Yeah, And so he just kind of walks her
If there's
very
one thing
slowly.
that every movie ever always gets wrong, it's the amount of time a human being can breathe underwater.
I don't care if you're
this movie is no
unconscious. You have
exception.
like fucking 5 minutes of oxygen before your brain's just like, well, I guess we're dead then. But yeah, walks very slowly because he thinks she's dead anyways. He fucking pops her up in his little underwater laboratory, his little refuge, marks her off as dead, and just kind of goes back about his business. Steps on her hand and she wakes up.
Puts their googly eyes on.
And she wakes up, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm an amnesiac diver." And then she's like, "Oh," and then he's like, "Oh, I'm remembering something."
Whoa! I can't believe. Yeah, and he's like,
At
look.
first, I was like, "Why the fuck give him amnesia if he's immediately gonna know what's going on?" But that was the reason he has amnesia, is because it turns out he was the guy, the mad scientist doctor who invented Kronk and all of the fucking other people.
Yeah, you can tell right away because he looks
he's
like
the
all
clone.
It's just him.
Yeah.
It's a beard. He's like the older.
But we find, I mean, he's kind of the bad guy in that he created everything, but the guy was also like, left for dead. Like, I think it was explained.
Right, but
like,
he didn't remember it. And then at the very end of the movie, when he comes to, he's like, come back and I'll be a bad guy again or whatever.
So he's down there.
And
He's got literally every toy from the oil rig that's been thrown into the water after fucking the wolf has his hissy fit each time he can't dream and tosses the kids' fucking toys into the ocean. He's got them dated. He's got them all there. He's like, I'm a treasure hunter and all this bullshit. Miette doesn't give a fuck, dude. She doesn't give a shit. She's just like, how the hell do I get out of here? I don't want to be here. This place sucks. Fuck this. You got like a bunch of rusted ass bikes and stuff. This is lame. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, just go out that way, I guess. Boom, she's gone. Doesn't even say goodbye.
And then she gets to Ron Perlman, and then he gets bitten by one of the fleas.
I was thinking.
So wait, before we get to Ron Perlman getting bit by the fleas,
Ron Perlman.
This was one of the Rube Goldberg weird ass bullshit scenes I wrote down. Yes. So Miette gets out of the bike place or whatever, and she finds Ron Perlman, and Ron Perlman is on a hook.
Getting sloshed as fuck. He's getting drunk.
No. Okay. So he's getting drunk as shit at the bar, and he's got a hooker, and then Miette finds her, and Miette's like, "Oh, you got a hooker now," and she's mad at him or whatever. But I'm talking about the scene right after that. So she brings Miette down to the fucking place where all the other gangster kids are, and Ron Perlman is lifted up in a crane. And he's in a box, and he gets lifted up in a crane, and then he gets dragged down on the crane into the street where the kids are trying to grab him. And then he gets lifted back up into the crane, and then he gets dropped into a barrel, and then the barrel rolls down the street, and then he falls into the ocean. And right before he falls into the ocean, there happens to be a kid standing there with a giant rubber life preserver who throws it in seconds before Ron Perlman hits the water. And I fucking laughed my ass off when that scene happened, because I was just like, it's fine, but god damn, it was that ridiculous. And just a little peek towards the future, this was not anywhere near how ridiculous it was gonna get.
It was some good cinematography. It really was, because like it
was excellent. It was excellent filmmaking, but it was fucking absurd.
So I got Ron Perlman. He's a little drunk. Miette's like, oh, by the way, I was down this weird fucking underground place. Popsity poopsity. I know where your brother is, but we have to find a map to get through all these landmines. So we're gonna get you a tattoo, buddy. And he gets a tattoo of her name on Miette Forever, or Miette de la Soie, or some shit on his arm, which means like Miette Forever. And it's in the Chinese tattoo parlor. She throws some money down. The dude like bows. The map's on his head. And then we start the rescue scene. It was unnecessary. I'm going to start right away.
Yeah, thank God they got that tattoo.
The map through the mine, completely unnecessary, because they just paddle through it. You fucking multiple times he prods the mines away from the boat with his fucking oar anyways. So
yeah, there wasn't any point.
Before they get out on the boat, though,
before they're going towards,
they're right about to escape to the boat. They're right about to escape to the boat, go out into the minefield, and rescue the lost children and Don Ray and all those other kids. But they get circumvented by the Cyclops, and the Cyclops starts playing the hurdy-gurdy.
What did you call him the Cyclops? He's got both eyes.
Yeah.
No, not the octopus. The octopus.
The octopus shows up with their hurdy-gurdy brother boy. They're their friend. No, they stole the hurdy-gurdy, that's right, and the poison. And it stings one, and this is just like another fucking 5 to 10 minutes of just child abuse. And I don't mean it's psychological this time.
So one is being hypnotized, and he is choking Niet.
And slapping her. And just
slapping the shit out of her, and then he just starts choking the fuck out of Niet. And then a tear flies off of Miet's face. It lands on a spider web, which makes a bird chirp, which makes a dog bark, which makes a man throw a bottle at the dog, which makes a pigeon fly away, which makes a pigeon shit on a truck, which makes the truck hit a fire hydrant, which floods the streets, and then a box of rats gets, just a full box of rats, gets caught by the flood, flies into a titty bar, a bunch of hoes run out of the titty bar in fear, an electrician gets distracted by the titties, the power goes out, and a ship which can't see the lighthouse crashes into the pier, saving Niet.
And almost killing the octopus, and what me and Katz thought was going to be the coolest shit, where they were going to get split in half.
Yes.
But it doesn't happen. It was such a tease the whole time, because the fucking ship comes right between and touches the center of them. And they
knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing with that scene, and they wanted us to think that. And it wasn't like they just they dropped the ball or anything. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they were saving
mad because that by the way, that Rube Goldberg bullshit still isn't the most absurd Rube Goldberg bullshit that happens. It was designed to make you a little.
That was the most absurd Rube Goldberg shit I wrote down. So what was more absurd?
Yeah, about the one where the flea gets on the guy with the motorcycle, then he hops off on the dog, and the dog humps the other dog. That one, remember that Rube Goldberg thing?
Yeah, that one was pretty ridiculous.
For that one, I missed that one entirely.
Okay, so one and Miette are in the water. They're trapped because it's the pier's destroyed around them, the ship's in front of them. The octopus is like, "Hey, here's these fucking guys down here." They're poking them with a stick. And they're like, "Oh, you know what? There's oil right here. Let's just set them on fire. Fuck it." And they do. And that's the end of the movie. Psych! 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 The flea ringleader dude comes back and he redeems himself. And I was like, hell yeah, because the flea guy, 10 out of 10. He was my favorite character in this. He's such a cool-ass motherfucker. He fucking bites the twins. He plays his hurdy-gurdy. And they just fucking kill each other right there. They're just strangling each other out. And, he throws a rope down to the one and Miette. They fall into the drink. He smokes. He takes a drag off his cigarette in the most French way possible and flicks that bitch into the oil-covered water. I was sweating.
Gray blue.
Oh, I was sweating at that point. I was like, this was it. This is what I wanted. I wish it ended right there, but we are now officially halfway through the movie.
No, we're not. We're in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're in two. Well, no, there's actually a good chunk of movie after this, but this is at least 2/3 or 3/4, I'd say.
We're
okay,
still
so now
have an hour left.
So just also, we haven't established this clearly, but fucking Ron Perlman's entire motivation is rescuing his little brother. No. And right before this whole scene happens where he's choking Miette, he said, "Oh, you're my little sister now." So they're tight now. They're super tight now.
Not sexually, but they're pretty tight.
It was a scene
nothing sexual. Honestly, this movie
could have been so much
more pedophilic, but this movie was just 100% wholesome, in my opinion, or at least as wholesome as you can get when it's French.
There's a weird scene where he's staring at Miette while she's sleeping, and if it wasn't Ron Perlman doing it, it would have came off. I mean, it actually did. You were
or the scene where he rubs her feet, but it's also just super sweet.
Yeah, you're okay, well,
because it's fucking Ron Perlman being the most likable guy in the goddamn world.
He kind of just reminds me of a shaggy dog.
So you're about right. Yeah, we're coming to the end. this is the rescue scene now. Now they're on their boat. They're paddling towards. Yeah, like I said, they just straight up like push most of the mines out of their way. That whole tattoo scene didn't need to happen. Whatever. They get there, and it's Miette and it's one, and it's this big oil rig, and they kind of sneak their way in. And Miette's like, "Hey, tie a string around me, and I'll go look around so I can find my way back here in case anything happens." And it's a classic, like, it's on his, his sweater, and it's just, like, unraveling as she goes. And the whole time, so while they're exploring this oil rig with the wolf, one's little brother is getting put in the machine. He's getting ready to be put asleep because he has no fear.
Frank was like, this kid is the only kid that doesn't freak out around me because all he wants to do is just mow sausage.
He just wants to eat. That's all he wants to do. And he was like, this is perfect. He's not afraid of
Yeah, no, that kid had a great job. He was the cutest kid in the movie, and his job was just eat food, my dude.
So they're getting him ready.
A candle.
They're getting him ready. The clones are all walking around, and in like the office or something, our little dwarf princess is kind of hanging out. Apparently, the stairs to the office are connected to the organ, so when you walk up them, it plays like a crescendo or something, na 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 na, or whatever. So she's like, "Oh, who's coming up here?" She checks. Oh, it's a little girl. That's weird. Huh. Well, I guess I'll take my gigantic fucking gun and go kill this little girl. Not what she says.
But then, Mr. Diver Man.
Oh my god, yeah. So Miette is like, oh, I don't know where I am. I'm going to go back to Ron Perlman. The string breaks. She's kind of lost. She meets the dwarf princess. She's got a gun. She points it at her. And at this moment, I was like, oh shit, they're going to kill a kid on screen, aren't they?
They had established that they could easily do it.
They shoot a fucking harpoon through the dwarf instead. It was insane, dude. A fucking spear just right through her.
The other really good, so fucking after that, like, of course, the girl gets away and she's sitting there stabbed by a harpoon.
She doesn't get away.
I'm saying that. So the harpoon, Miette gets away or whatever, but harpoon goes through the dwarf lady, and the other really good line I wrote was that she gets shot, and one of her sons runs up to her, is like, "Oh, does it hurt?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm allergic to steel." There's no sarcasm. There's no humor. It's just like, yeah, I'm allergic to steel.
I forgot about that line.
Great line. It was funny as shit, even through translation.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
It's like, oh, don't worry, the original's here. He'll fix you like he fixed us. And then he just walks away.
Comedy-wise, this movie was a killer. It was
pretty solid.
There's some great jokes in this movie.
It's pretty flat for most of the time, so when it is funny, it's even greater. But yeah, so we see the original. He's showing up. He's strapping the whole place with explosives. Miette's there, and she's like, "Wait, what about the kids?" He's like, "Oh, right, the kids. I brought their toys. Here, look, here's all their toys. Go give it to them. Let's continue fucking strapping this bitch down with explosives." The fucking the dwarf is sitting there bleeding out, and Miette's like, "No, wait, where am I going? I'm lost. Where do I go?" And she's like, "Oh, go save the kids." And then she fucking pulls a lever that's supposed to just drop her into the ocean and kill her, I guess. But thankfully, one Perlman is there to fucking save her by grabbing her by the fucking hair before she falls into the pit and picking her up by her hair. And then he gets knocked in instead. You guys remember that scene where she just got picked up by the hair?
Yeah, I do remember that. And then when he falls into the pit, he gets out. Doesn't he like land in a boat or something like that?
No. So there's an interesting thing. So when they're on their way up the oil derrick to first go up for this final boss confrontation, there's a weird shot where the little girl just like looks at this seagull that just has a nest, and then they just keep climbing. And when I first saw it, I was like, well, why the fuck did you point out that seagull? But then later, after Ron Perlman has fallen down the hole, and we haven't seen him for a couple minutes, so it's been long enough that the audience might start thinking, holy shit, did he actually die? And then it starts craning up that same fucking place where the bird was, and Ron Perlman is just like, he landed on the bird. The only reason he's alive is because he crushed that fucking bird. It was
the bird
awesome.
Exploded in shit apparently because he is fucking covered in bird shit too.
Oh yeah, no, he's covered head to toe in brown and a little bit of red.
That bird had just chowed down.
The dwarf's dead. She tried to kill the kid. The kid finds the brain and the fucking scientist.
And then he gets a real fucking Nightmare on Elm Street real quick.
She jumps into the dream machine to bargain for one's little brother so she could take his place. And he's like, all right, sure, like, what do you get out of this, though? Like, I get my youth, but what are you getting, then? And she's like, I get a brother. Maybe I can see one again. Who knows? Fuck you. So, the whole thing
she, like, sacrificed herself.
Yeah, it was a really interesting scene because,
she planned, though.
Yeah, no, because she's in the dream with Kronk, who's about to finally be able to take over the youth of the child or whatever. And then it gets really fucking 2001 because she convinces Kronk to let her be in control of the dream, but then she uses her powers of imagination to age him into the age of a baby and her into the age of an old lady.
Because it's his dream. And the brain explains to her, like, oh, Kronk, like, the reason why he steals children in their dreams is because he doesn't have the youth. He doesn't have any youth of it. So he thinks his aging is because of this. This is his last day alive, and he's making sure that he can be a kid again because he thinks that'll save him. So she knows that, like, he's like, oh, well, like, if I'm in a dream, I'm going to stay young forever. And she's just like, all right, cool, I'll be old for you. But yeah, it's really all these really interesting shots and pans of, like, them de-aging.
And then there's the scene where she basically, like, she was able to defeat him by, like, turning his dream into an endless loop where he's like, man, what is even happening in that loop part? But the only reason I was able to even comprehend what was happening in that scene was because I read the Wikipedia, because I had an entirely different interpretation. But basically she just, like, turned his brain into a loop and destroyed him that way.
Yeah, he becomes a baby. And what happens to babies in this oil rig? Well, they get hooked up to the dream machine. But he's already hooked up to the dream machine. So him, as a baby in the dream machine, gets hooked up to the dream machine.
Right, yeah, no, that's
state, which makes him a baby.
It was him hooking himself up over and yeah, totally.
For fucking... and you could assume that this is like... Because, I don't know, when you fall asleep, you like... a day passes in your dream, but it's, 8 hours in real life. You could assume this guy suffered for basically an infinite amount of time of just this horrid loop. But fuck him, he deserved it. And he dies. And it just stresses him out. And the uncle knew, the brain in the jar knew, like, yeah, this was his last day anyways, but, like, at least everyone's safe. They get all the kids off. All the kids are off the fucking oil rig. All the clones, they get Uncle, the brain in the jar. They put him on a boat. They're all rowing away. And in this last scene, we see the original. He's just fucking screaming, dude. He is like, what's that?
He's remembered everything. All of his memory apparently comes back right at that moment. He remembers. Like...
In his last moments. I loved it. Yeah. He's sitting there. Oh, the void equals infinity. I will be forever.
He finally realizes that he needs to get come back and saved by his minions. But then a seagull comes and pushes the plunger, and it destroys the oil derrick and the city of lost children once and for all. And then we go to the boat, and the little kid burps, and the movie is over.
And that's the end. And man, it's a lot.
Pretty great movie, honestly.
Pretty solid. I wasn't mad that I chose this, but I was intrigued by what you guys would come up with. And if someone could play that sound while I finish my fourth beer real quick, we're gonna head on into the room.
What are we smoking in our French? We're doing a French film, so we're in our French Hollywood. I guess it wouldn't be the French Hollywood. We're in the Hollywood French the French version of Hollywood studio.
French crack. It's mostly just French crack, which is like American crack.
French crack?
French crack.
It's got some. It's got some nice artisan cheese in it.
Yeah, French crack. You smoke out of like one of those long cigarette holders. I think you just put a little dab of crack in the end of that.
It's very similar to the
it's like a Chillum
favorite Italian crack, which has Parmesan cheese and carpet trimmings in it, but. This is French crack.
Oh yeah, like Hunter Biden, his favorite cocktail of un craqué de fromage.
That's funny because Hunter Biden also got a tattoo on his back that was a map.
Hey!
And then I heard he fucked a kid.
Most likely, he probably fucked one of the Obama kids.
He has a map. He has a map to where you can fuck him in the ass on his back. I hear.
Well, as much as I love just gossiping about the politicians that we pay to let us do all this fucked up stuff.
Shout out to HunterBiden.com. Go to HunterBiden.com for all the latest Hunter Biden updates.
Say what you will.
Some
of the best crack I bought from Hunter Biden. So
honestly, one of the best crack dealers I've ever had, and that's saying something.
It is.
So Brant, so what we do now is we try to make remake the movie, and Brant, just because I don't think I have too much spectacular to put on your desk, I can go first if you'd like.
Yeah, this is the part where we, as I said, we twist, rewrite, we make the sausage out of this thing. Yeah,
remake.
It's a tough one. This was a very peculiar, very direct type of movie. I'm intrigued to see what small ideas could come out of it. So yeah, if you want to take the floor here, Dwayne, please do.
Yeah, this one was a little bit of a thinker on my end. But so like I said, and there's a reason I kept mentioning Quentin Tarantino. But I kept thinking, like, how would one remake a Quentin Tarantino movie? Because in my mind, this is the same kind of thing. This is the same kind of movie where one's voice is just way too specific to try to remake it in the medium of film in a way that would give it any justice to the extent of the original artist trying to do it. So I was thinking we just fucking spikety Lee this old boy and just make it a shitty American version. So I'm thinking instead of raping the babies as we do, I'm thinking robot overlords. I'm thinking Tom Cruise. I'm thinking John Malkovich is the bad guy. I'm thinking the guy who plays Rickety Cricket is the diver. I'm thinking all that kind of shit. And then I'm thinking instead of Ron Perlman, just Sonic the Hedgehog, my dude. Just Sonic the Hedgehog. We're just going to make it fucking play in middle America. So that was what my mindset was.
As I cracked open my fifth beer, I was like, I wonder who's going to be the first one to mention the Old Boy remake. And, well, it didn't have to wait long, at least.
To force the American audiences to be like, man, what was the original like? Because in my opinion, this artist's particular voice was more important than whatever bullshit we could try to remake it with. That said, I walked that back, and here is my actual pitch of the only way you can make this work, which is if you're gonna elevate this guy's voice into a remake, then you should change the medium. So I'm thinking we do an animated film. It's an animated film. We do like some really storybook style animations, and I'm thinking, firstly, like some things like the story of. I think we would open it up with the fairy tale type story of what happened with Kronk and the scientist and the children. We would open it up.
I do like that idea.
We would make it much more clear because this is a children's type film.
We only get a quick moment to show like what really happened. And it is just a dream that lasts like 2 minutes, where it's like that original guy and Kronk comes in and he's mad for some reason and they fight and then like he gets thrown overboard and that's all we see of it. So I would like
and we get like and we might have some kind of a narrator reading it in a storybook fashion, and then we cut to Miette. And then we cut to Miette and we just follow her and she meets Ron Perlman or whatever. But really, that's my mindset is just, like if you guys ever watched Madeline or a lot of those like semi-European cartoons that were playing when we were growing up, like that kind of thing where there's something There's something to be said about a cartoon that slightly traumatizes children but gives them a good message. And I think that we should just Brothers Grimm this and just turn it into a straight up fairy tale and then adapt that directly into animation.
How dark are we going and how quick? That's my first question.
I think that we're going to just flirt with darkness. Like, it's the kind of darkness that you get in a lot of those, especially like it's a bygone era thing now. Like now children's media is either the most fucking sanitized bullshit or it's just straight up rape porn on YouTube with fucking Elsa dolls and Spider-Man. So it's either that or that. So I'm saying we just bring it back to the straight up like Courage the Cowardly Dog, real monsters type of shit where it's something that the aesthetic and artistic style of it is disturbing, but it's a story that's intended to glom on to childhood and innocence. So that's
I'm imagining like the triplets of Belleville, kind of.
Straight up. No, that's kind of what I was thinking, but probably less of that because triplets of Belleville traumatized me, and I was like 16 when I saw it.
maybe less on that side of that artistic view, because that one is... This movie was French, but the triplets of Belleville is fucking French.
No, that's French. Like you're in the room with the baguette with this movie compared to the triplets of Belleville where the baguette is in your anus.
It is you becomes the baguette. So you had a big attention to baguettes.
Another one that I saw at a very young age. Man, I'd have to rewatch it, I guess. I don't remember it being that fucked up.
Dude, like, see, that's just your weird shit, man. Yeah, that's just your mom showing you weird art films.
Man, that VHS collection, I owe a lot of my psyche to it, so, yeah. So you don't want it to be that creepy, though. I'm wondering how you're gonna like scale it back, then, because there's a lot of creepy shit that happens.
No, and that's the thing is, I'm saying if we were to make this into a direct adaptation into animation, then I'm going to want to keep a lot of the creepiness. It's just like some things that aren't necessary for children. Like you could really dull down a lot of the murder stuff. You could really dull down some of it. But honestly, like I'm of the mindset that it's not necessarily bad for kids to see the face of evil and be scared of it. Because I think like the brave little toaster, dude. Like fucking, I learned so much from growing up and watching the brave little toaster. Right. Fucking Sid from Toy Story, man. Like there's a lot to be said about looking into the eyes of evil when you're a kid, man. I honestly think that we should keep it as. That's why I'm not delving too deep into plot beats because I really think we should just do the same story, but maybe cut down some of the creepiness and make the message and the backstory more clear.
You're going for like early Disney. You're going kind of more like
I'm going for like the Rescuers Disney. I'm going for like pre-Renaissance, pre-Aladdin Disney, when Disney was just like, all right, let's traumatize some kids.
We're talking OG Snow White and stuff. Yeah, like I said.
No, not even Snow White. Well, Dumbo though. There's some definite Dumbo references, but influences. Vibes, but it's more. It's the dead zone. It's between Disney making money and Disney making money in the 40s. I'm talking about that Disney dead zone of just creepy shit.
What kind of art style are you seeing? Are you seeing like a obviously, like we said, not the triplets of Belleville. That's a bit too much.
Triplets of Belleville minus like 50 degrees.
Okay,
like,
so
let's bring in the noses. Let's make the eyes more human.
Kronk's gonna have like a big hunchback, and he's gonna be kind of like a thin, tall thing. The brain in the jar is gonna be kind of more fanciful.
Have you seen Igor? It's a 3D animation. I'm picturing this more as a 2D animation, but have you seen Igor?
Look it up right now.
Or I guess it's Igor. I guess I just call it Igor because that's
Igor.
Yeah, because of Young Frankenstein. But
yeah, it's one with the rabbit that wants to kill himself, but he can't.
Yeah, no, like that kind of like it's something that's clearly geared for kids, but it has a lot of that like Tim Burton-esque, like creepy. Just a little greasy, just like
Tim Burton.
That's a great touchstone for what I see for this because it's that thing that will both creep a kid out and be good for kids, you know?
Yeah, Tim Burton is, I think that's probably the best way you can say it. Yeah, that's what I was saying, like very tall, thin, lanky, kind of Kronk the Wolf, a very fanciful, more kind of steampunky contraption type uncle. The dwarf princess.
Yeah, and then you could have
stout.
some real like hard Iron Giant influences, especially for like Ron Perlman
in the background, a lot of steam popping up instead of like everything was very static. Ron Perlman, I'm seeing him as a very triangular looking dude. Big muscle top guy, you know.
Like, or even like and even there's influences you could take from like Spider-Verse, how they draw Wilson Fisk, how he's just a big square. Like the little dashes of surrealism. Honestly, this movie only works if we make sure that we are taking the advantage of that surrealism. And that, like, honestly, dude, like, if we're being straight the fuck up here, like, I'm pitching you a movie that makes no money.
Nothing. No one would come see this.
It's not in America.
But straight up, cats. It might make money overseas, especially Japan. Like I could totally see Japan fucking with this, or Germany.
Pretty much everywhere but here.
That's true.
Yeah, no,
it's Canada even.
Too. We can get any big name celebrities to voice act this thing, or are we going to the local theater for these boys?
My mindset is blow all the money on animation and then see if an actor wants to do it. But if the Ron Perlman character, I think because it has the name of an actor with clout like Ron Perlman connected to it, I bet we could get a lot of like more on the artsy end of actors. Like Jared Leto is the first name that comes to my mind. Christian Bale kind. Christian Bale, I think. I bet
every fucking episode we bring up Jared Leto. He's in my fucking closet. He's in the mirror. Every time I look in the shower, there he is with my soaking hair.
That's you and Jared
Every
Leto.
time Brant cries, Jared Leto is in his tear. He sees
every
him.
Tear.
And every time he comes.
I kind of fucked it up, but I was trying to make a City of Lost Children reference there. So.
But anyway, that's my idea. It's just do, because I truly believe that unless you change the medium, unless Katz has a good idea for a different way to adjust the story, because that could be a good way to do it. I just couldn't think of anything. But yeah, in my opinion, in order to give respect to the original story, you shouldn't just redo it.
Well, that was a ball drop. Katz, pick it up.
So I think this should be an American remake. But you know, it's such a French story. It's such a off the wall thing. I don't think anyone's really gonna bat an eye at some major changes to it.
Okay. What kind of major changes? First of all,
I can vibe with that.
Namely, my story, which is the same title, takes place in the underground tunnels of Disney World. The brain, Irvin, I want to give him a more of a character. He's actually Walt Disney's brain. Mm-hmm. Yep, he's Walt Disney's brain. And I think Walt Disney has a son, and that is Kronk. And Kronk is still running the Walt Disney business. And the only way that and you know, he was created by Disney, I think. I think Disney like did a deal with the devil or something, like when he drew like his son, and then he somehow came to life. But anyway, the only way that this
is the plot of Animaniacs.
Is it?
Yeah, kind of.
Wait, what happens? I've
plot of Animaniacs is some guy just drew the Warner family and
fuck.
They're Animaniacs. I've been watching a lot of Animaniacs.
Yeah, I have not been.
Caught up on the
I wonder if
excellent show. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, it's coming up. I don't know if I internalized Animaniacs, and that's where I'm getting that from. But then I think we switch it over to a little bit more of like an adrenochrome type thing, and Walt Disney's demonically created son needs to lure children from the top level of Disney World and bring them down, and that's why Disney World exists, or that's why
this is all the rumors behind the Small World ride, essentially given life, but in the guise of the City of Sleeping Children.
It's a small world after all.
I was trying to think of like an adaptation of the City of Lost Children, and I kept on thinking like, this isn't that much different from like the Disney World conspiracies actually. So maybe just say you're making, City of Lost Children, and change a few things. You got a great like, behind the conspiracy, just basically the conspiracy of the Disney World underground tunnels, just in scripted format. So, yeah.
How do you see? Don't even go beat for beat. Just kind of go like your main story points. Like, how are we introducing Mietin 1? How's the little kid coming into this? Like,
our characters directly coming through, or what's the dealio?
Is this like a dad loses his son in Disney World and it's his like adventure to find his kid, or is it?
No. It's basically,
as long as it isn't the same of the plot of Tomorrowland. Or not Tomorrow.
I'd like to keep it
Tomorrow. Escape from Tomorrow. That's what I'm talking about.
I haven't seen that. That was a Brad Bird movie, though. So
Escape from Tomorrow. No, you're thinking Tomorrowland. Escape from Tomorrow was the movie that was shot in Disney World and Disneyland without their permission.
Ooh. I actually haven't seen that movie.
Shit. It's a giant piece of shit, Brand. I recommend you check it out because it's interesting, but it's a piece of shit movie. And the guy who made it sounds like kind of a piece of shit.
If you're going to fucking make a gorilla movie in Disney World, I can imagine that would be a piece of shit. You could probably get like maybe a solid 5 minutes of shooting.
Unless your story is like, dude, look at this movie, because this movie, like the dude made a movie, his story just sucked.
Yeah, I was wondering if because I know of that movie, and I know it's something about like there being like something crazy going on at Disney World. What is the plot of that? Am I ripping it off or not?
Not really. The plot of that movie is a guy who goes to Disneyland and starts seeing hoes, and then he starts getting attracted to the hoes. It's a piece of shit. You're not going off of it that hard. So continue.
Okay. Cool.
We'll go with your
no, I mean, and also like the characters are going to be more or less the same. I was thinking as one, we could have cast Tom Hardy possibly. I was thinking
if it helps you at all, Cats, I was thinking John Malkovich for the bad guy.
Do you mean Kronk?
Yeah.
I was thinking Steve Buscemi, but I could see John Malkovich too.
Steve Buscemi would be really good too. I think, man, actually, that's a Sophie's choice right there. We'll see who's free.
It is, yeah. But I think one played by, who did I just say? Tom Hardy. I think he's gonna be like still a performer. I think he's one of the performers that's like in the costumes, possibly. Like he has to play like a big, or maybe he's not even in a costume. Maybe he plays like the big buff guy.
Aladdin. You could play like Aladdin or the genie or somebody, somebody who's like just a paint.
Yeah, something. Yes, I mean, like it kind of matters, but like, he's just like one of the Disney World characters. That's his job. And then, what's her name? Miette is she's in a ragtag gang of children that just steal from tourists that are coming to Disney World, because that's actually a fucking thing that I heard. Like, at least not. I don't think it is anymore. But Disney
I guarantee
World,
it's still a thing. It's just they got to be more clever now.
Yeah,
because the same thing. If you've ever been, Cats, you've gone to LA a bunch of times, but if you've ever been to a big city, you know that there's always these fucking people who are there, and their entire life is just let's take advantage of tourists.
Oh, for sure. I'm talking about in the park though, and that's definitely a harder thing to pull off because like Disney World has,
especially as kids,
yeah, like they got the secret police at Disney World, so it's like. You got to suspend a little bit of disbelief. How is there a ragtag gang of kids operating within Disney World, whatever?
Because where else is Hunter Biden going to get his prey?
And I think that's,
like, all right, we're leaving you alone now, Hunter. You got your bites.
We're done. So, and that's I think that's where we're going to bring a lot of the fanciful ideas to, with like this, this underground, the sewer city of kids stealing from tourists in Disney World. That seems very... French City of Lost Children to me, something like that.
I think though it would be done because it's an American remake. We're setting this in like one of the most American places you possibly could. It's just like you don't need to take that Frenchness. We don't need to take that Frenchness like and try to do that exactly. I think we could almost do it. I don't want to say like Harmony Korine. I don't want to like go that far. but like I almost kind of like felt like you could do like a Florida Project type feel to it, where it's like, because Florida Project is somewhat similar. I think like, you know, I don't want to do it too surreal, almost like it should be. I feel like it should be almost like kind of grounded, and then the surreal parts kind of jump out a little bit more. Whereas City of Lost Children was very, very surreal the entire way. So,
can you explain a little bit more clearly, if you're going to try to do this more realistically, can you explain a little bit more clearly the analog of how the, like, what is Kronk? Like, who is he? And where is this island?
I don't give a shit about that. I want to know, like, what your hard cut is on, like, the surrealist City of Lost Children and this Disney park adaptation with realism. Like, well, what's your hard cut? What are you saying absolutely no to?
Well, it's the separation of the worlds, basically. Like, I think the top part of, like, I don't want to, I guess not, I don't want to say like the entire film doesn't like have surrealism. It's that when you're on top, when you're in the Disney world, we try to treat it more real life like, because I don't know, to me it seems like trying to present it as the Disney world that like we're kind of familiar with would probably sell it more if we can like really connect that with Kronk and Walt Disney's brain down at the bottom lower tunnels, you know.
Okay. Yeah. We're doing a hard contrast where it's like up on top, you know, everything's just the same. It's very normal. It's very straightforward. But the moment that camera pans below the pipes, we're talking like crazy weird steampunk shit and brains in jars and fucking mining children mining happiness coins and like the dark. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that stuff is super surreal. But I think there should be like a
very Lynchy type message.
Yeah, no. As Brant was saying that, I just
surface or whatever.
Yeah, I just like as Brant was describing that, like in my mind, I was thinking of the Blue Velvet intro. But yeah, you know, I mean,
totally with the grass.
Yeah, but like everybody in that fucking movie is also really weird. I mean, that movie's pretty.
Daddy
weird.
Wants to fuck.
Pabst Blue Ribbon, yeah. Like, I mean, I guess some people might scream Pabst, you know, the beer that they're drinking, but you know,
Modelo.
There you go. But yeah. So like, there is crazy steampunk, you know, there's crazy like shit going on underneath Disney World. What's his name? One somehow I haven't really like kind of figured this out, but one somehow rescues Miette from like some, you know, unsavory people. I think probably like some security guards, some like that were probably like maybe like I don't know, you know, they might have just been bringing her down to Kronk or something, but they did not seem good. Probably beats them up. Then he's like, you know, suspect number one by the secret police of Disney World. And, you know, write your story from here.
And he's down in the fucking underground. He's just trying to find his way. He's trying to find his little son or his little brother and find his way out.
Fucking forgot about that kid.
And he's totally following Miette. And he's kind of like on her hanging word. Okay.
Yeah. And at the end of the film, Disney World blows up.
Well.
And is gone.
Bob Iger's wife gets raped.
Oh,
my first worry here
Bob
was
Iger in charge right now. Yeah, it's Bob Iger. Yeah,
maybe.
Sure. Okay, never mind.
My biggest worry, right, on the first of this was like, how are we gonna get funding? But you telling me that we're just gonna blow up Disney World at the end? Why we could pitch this to Universal Studios with a fucking ham and cheese sandwich on the side, and they'll say yes. Are you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. So you're saying we just pitch a movie on the grounds of domestic terrorism at their competitors?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe like Blumhouse. What if we got like Blumhouse or like what's a studio that's not going to give a shit?
A24 wants to burn down the mainstream.
Yeah, if A24 wants to prove how punk they are, they better.
Yeah, dude. A24, put your fucking chips where your fucking mouth is at. If you want to beat the mouse, let's burn the mouse.
Put some arsenic in the cheese and let them just have a nibble. Oh, and that would be a great
Hunter
point.
Biden.
Yeah, Parmesan in your crack, or using a mouse with Parmesan to get a key. This is man, I like the Tim Burton shit. I'll say this: it's weak, it's overplayed. I'm sorry, Dwayne. Tim Burton, he's got one foot in the grave, and he loves it, and it's disgusting to see his erection as he touches the cold, soft ground that will soon be.
Well, just to be fair, I would say that I was much more Triplets of Belleville in my initial vision than I was Tim Burton.
Oh, okay. Still, I don't want him to fucking be anywhere near this because I hate that emo bitch boy. That fucking
Ed Wood is one of the great movies of all time.
It was alright. You know what? Sure. But anything that he fucking animates is absolutely just a fucking well of poison in the middle of a town.
Honestly, I've never gotten much great out of Nightmare Before Christmas except for some really bad girlfriends.
Girls that wear Nightmare Before Christmas apparel or just the fucking male equivalent of the dudes that wear the three howling wolves at the moon.
Okay, but that movie is
an unhealthy relationship with Jack Skellington equals a fedora.
Yeah, for women, it's pretty.
Okay.
It's not good.
It's a good movie still. And Corpse Bride is boring as shit, but it's not bad either. That's all I'll say about it.
It's the same with Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's a fine movie, but there's something about the women and the children who just fucking base their entire personality on it. It is a destructive concept that eats away at the soul. That said,
Brand, that's a good reason for us to just outlaw Sonic the Hedgehog, because how many 13-year-old autists have we lost? How many niggas we done lost? I apologize for the end.
Oh, no.
Listen, if I was president...
I was quoting a rapper, goddammit, I don't care.
He was. It was a quote, it's fine. If I was president, I would say it's open season to anyone that dares wear a fursuit in public. And I think that would curb a lot of the problem. As it is, Dwayne, I love the idea. I really do, and I think a lot of art could be well in. Would you be fine with a little bit of a compromise? Because I think this old boy Disney destroying remake that Cats is pushing just needs a touch of that Black Cauldron, that brave little toaster, just a few scenes of just really fucked up animation.
So, Brant, what do you figure? How do you guys figure trying to do like a Roger Rabbit kind of thing here?
I don't really want a live action with cartoons. I want more like scene transitions that go into like different variations.
So like Toontown or like Toontown in Roger Rabbit or like Space Jam.
Well, okay. So what if like getting to like the source of like Kronk's like problems, because he's a creation of Walt Disney's like psyche, basically.
Right.
And so, like,
he's a cursed drawing that has no soul.
Like the inner diamond of his brain is some crazy fucking Disney cartoon or something.
And they have to go into the dream world, and it's gonna be all this really fucked up.
If I may, especially with the Dream World thing, like there's so many interesting comparisons you can draw to Disney. But I do know near the end of Disney's life, he used to have these two like musicians come in and just play him Mary Poppins songs while he would cry. And I think having our Kronk character, who is Walt Disney, connected to the octopus, who is those two musicians who would come in and play with him while he cried, I feel like that is a fucking potential real life analog we could use.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's something you would put. Yeah. I could see that being put in. The one thing I will say, like, you know, people have all their qualms with Disney, and like, you know, I suppose a lot of that is more the company than the man himself. And, you know, he did like some stuff back in his day, but I think in order for this movie to work, you can't present him as a total bad guy. I think that, you know, there definitely needs to be
some redeeming. Like the uncle.
There needs to be something about him. Yeah, that's redeemable, and he needs to be like presented just realistically, or not realistically, but you know what I mean. Like not.
So I don't think you've probably never played BioShock, Cats, but I'm kind of getting some Andrew Ryan vibes. Andrew Ryan was the guy who created this town that got destroyed. But the game does an interesting thing where you both realize that this is the madman who created this world and ran it into the ground, but you also kind of have a respect for him because he was the idealist who believed that his way of creating this town was the only way to have a utopian society. So you could really do some interesting thing with that.
because a lot of people say that that scene with Mayette being rescued by the treasure hunter or the original kind of inspired some BioShock stuff. I'm seeing, and also like you said with the octopus and the singing him to sleep and all that stuff. Another great callback to in the actual movie of the City of Lost Children, where Kronk has the clones tell him their dreams while he drifts off to sleep himself. I see a lot of clear back and forth here, and I see a lot of like very easy.
And on that and one more on that note, like what if the City of Lost Children was Epcot? Because that's a direct analog to Disney's life of him trying to create the perfect city.
Oh, the lost city of Epcot underneath Disney Park.
Who we thought could come and live in the perfect city, but the perfect city died before it became a city. So it's like a direct analog to Real Walt Disney.
No, okay. Yeah, fill me in a little bit. What is Epcot?
Dwayne,
Epcot was the city that Walt Disney created to try to be the ideal city for human beings to live on. It was like the last... So he made Disneyland and Disney World. Well, no, it was before Disney World because he wanted Epcot to be Disney World. After he made Disneyland, he wanted to make the city of the future, and Epcot was supposed to be an entirely independent city. So you should just research that just for fun because it's fascinating.
Huh.
So yeah, Epcot was like 3 levels of a city. The top level was the township itself. The second was like the highway, and because Disney hated traffic, it was the roadways, and then the bottom was like the subterranean. That was like where all the the nitty gritty pipes and steam kind of happened. But holy whoa, this could just be this could be the Epcot movie.
Malthushian will to power. Wasn't that great? I was pretty happy with it.
I'm glad you said that, boys.
Yeah,
Cats. I think it took this one right underneath. Dwight, I really, God, yeah. I think the best direct route for this would be animation for just a kind of like 1-to-1 type movie. But we're not doing that. Like you said, we're doing the American Old Boy here, and I kind of want to do what I think it's very easy to get Universal or anyone who's very anti-Disney on board with this for funding, for actors, for locations. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to see that fucking stupid goddamn castle just light up with the rest of the fireworks at the end of the night?
Honestly, my dude, you just know that even with how corporate and bullshit all of these film companies have become, you know that there's a couple of dudes or lady dudes or middle ground, whatever the fuck dudes, just chillaxing at that company who are just sitting there thinking, man, I am sick of this bullshit.
I'm so sick of having to feed Disney's fucking brain in a jar these stupid fish flakes every fucking Thursday at 3 p.m. Why don't I get the Monday one? I just want to get it out of the way first. Yeah, no. I think we'll throw the bone in there with you, a little compromises I always like to do. We'll have a couple kind of dream sequences or with the animation, but Cats, yeah, I think it took this one solidly. Can we
have Terry Gilliam direct it?
Why not?
Hey. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. That's a great call out. Yeah.
It'd be perfect.
We'll see if we can get Ron Perlman for maybe some voices. But yeah,
Ron Perlman should have like a cameo.
He should at least be like, you know what? He could be like the
security guard, or like not the security guard. He should be like a janitor. He should be like a janitor.
Could be a Cyclops.
He'll be like one of the secret police in like a Mickey and the Mouse or like a Goofy costume, and he'll have like a retribution arc, and it'll be like 30 minutes at the most, but he'll help the new main characters in the end. And kind of like be one of the good guys, but he'll be there. He's not doing anything else. He'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's doing these days now that he's not making like crazy Twitter videos like yelling at Trump. So
that was the best part.
Ron Perlman was up to for the past.
Hey Johnny, how about I piss in your mouth?
Yeah, I'm gonna piss on you can shake my piss covered hand, Donald. Ah. I fucking
Honestly, that's the kind. No matter who you are, I will always support political activism that ends with either shit, piss, or cum.
It certainly was that. It was some good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, Cass.
So next up, we have a big old crazy plan here.
Oh yeah. So
Is
we have.
Is this confirmed? Is this confirmed? Are we doing this?
Yes.
We doing this?
Yes. This is confirmed for this coming Sunday. So
Our first guest.
yeah, we have a guest. We have an insider.
Second guest.
Yeah, that's true.
Second
Oh no,
guest.
third guest actually. Third
Oh
guest.
my God, where have I
Yeah.
been?
Who was the other guest? We had Brian
Our first
once.
episode. Our first episode, we had the guest.
Oh
Seth
yeah, we had
Rothenbuch.
Seth as guest. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't mean to say the last name there, but we have an insider to the Animaniacs and other animation joining us in the next episode.
We are very lucky to have this this particular voice.
The energy that comes off of her, it's like the fucking sun.
I have a feeling that we won't have to talk that much. So
I'm excited. I truly
yeah,
am.
I think it's
We'll
be pretty
figure
good.
it out. But anyway, next week we will be covering the remake of the Animaniacs.
Special guest star, Katz's mom. I said it. I dropped the ball right there.
You just had to leave that one thing out. Way to go.
I couldn't.